Herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Folge von Athletes Mind Talk, diesmal mit der Gesundheitsexpertin und Lifestyleberaterin Maya Novak. Maya hat sich 2012 beim Klettern einen komplizierten Bruch im Sprunggelenk zugezogen. Ärzte haben ihr prognostiziert, dass sie für den Rest ihres Lebens humpeln wird. Entgegen der Meinung der Ärzte ist ihr Fuß heute wieder zu 100% voll beweglich und bereits 2,5 Jahre nach dem Unfall hat sie erfolgreich ihren ersten Halbdistanz-Triathlon, also 1,9 Kilometer Schwimmen, 90 Kilometer Rad und einen Halbmarathon erfolgreich gefinisht. Im Interview spreche ich mit ihr über den Heilungsprozess und was Sportler mit einer Verletzung zur Unterstützung der eigenen Genesung von Maya lernen können. Im Kern geht es dabei um 3 Aspekte. Erstens die physische Arbeit und klassische Medizin, zweitens Ernährung und drittens mentale Arbeit. Bevor wir in das Interview einsteigen, habe ich noch 3 wichtige Hinweise. Erstens, und das ist der Disclaimer, Achtung, die Aussagen in dem Interview sind kein medizinischer oder ärztlicher Rat und ersetzen natürlich auch nicht die Diagnose und Behandlung durch einen Arzt oder entsprechend ausgebildete Therapeuten. Zweitens, Maya stammt aus Slowenien, lebt seit Jahren in Neuseeland und deshalb haben wir das Interview auf Englisch geführt. Drittens, damit der Inhalt leicht zu konsumieren ist, haben wir das Interview in kleinere Episoden strukturiert. Im ersten Teil geht es um ihren Umgang mit den schlechten Prognosen der Ärzte, warum sie in diesem Zusammenhang von Internetrecherchen abrät und was nach ihrer Erfahrung die 3 wichtigsten Aspekte bei der Heilung sind. Okay, so viel zum Kontext und ohne weitere Umschweife steigen wir jetzt direkt ein in das Interview. So let's tell us a little bit what exactly happened in the accident briefly, so that everybody has a little bit of a background in terms of what happened to you.
Yeah, so I went for a climb. I was rock climbing, and I went with my 2 friends, and we just started the day. And I tried. You know, it was just I was climbing for a few months then, so I wasn't really experienced, but I wasn't like totally at the beginning. So I went for a climb and I slipped. I landed on my right ankle, on my right foot, and it was weird. It was painful, but it wasn't really painful. So I was definitely sure that that's just a sprain and everything will be okay, you know, because we were planning to go away for a weekend the next weekend after that. So I was like, everything will be okay.
So by the 2 weeks I will be recovered and everything is fine.
In a week, everything will be fine in a week. Yeah.
So did you get a prognosis in terms of how long the recovery takes for you and when you could, you know, enjoy again running and climbing and all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, the prognosis was bad because the doctor said, well, you know, maybe your ankle will be like 60-70% of what it was. You might be limping for the rest of your life. And, you know, when you're like in your 30s, you don't want to hear that you will have problems for another 70 years, 50 to 70 years.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know how it would be if I would be like 50 years old or 60 years old. But, you know, in your 30s, you definitely don't want to hear that you will have problems for the rest of your life. So the prognosis was bad. And also, anyone who ever broke their talus bone, they heard from doctors probably like 100% that avascular necrosis is pretty common, so that means that your bone can dies off and then you need more operations and complication after the complication. So and on the internet there is a lot of bad stories. So the thing that I always say to people is don't go on the internet. Don't read for the first few months. Nothing. No stories.
That's
no nothing.
Interesting. That's interesting because that's what I typically also do. I mean, when I have something, I look it up because my saying is like, hey, I don't want to trust only the doctors. I want to get myself informed. But you are saying that, hey, don't do that. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, you know, I think that it's not so. One of the videos that I also filmed is that, you know, doctors are great and they know a lot and they know how to put together all the bones and everything, but they don't know everything. And what I mean with that is that they usually don't talk about the connection between the mind and the body. So, if you're thinking that something bad will happen and that your recovery won't be perfect, then that can really happen. And if you're going on the internet and if you're reading story after story after story about bad things, then you're progressing. Yeah.
Of course. So in case you go, so number one, don't go to the internet and search all of these bad cases. If you go to the internet, if I would go, then look only for the good cases, and don't ever read the others. So that would be my lesson learned out of it.
Yeah, that would be the best case scenario. But before you find something positive, probably go through something bad as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. It's almost impossible. Probably there's much more stories about bad cases and worst cases than the best case scenarios.
Exactly. Okay.
But coming back to your case, so what was your initial reaction after that prognosis from the doctors?
Well, first of all, I cried quite a lot, and then after a while, then I realized that this won't be my scenario. That my recovery will be different. So I really try to go into that different mental space, and I really didn't want to listen to doctors. And the thing that also happened before the operation in the hospital is that one of the surgeons came in and said, well, worst case scenario is, and both me and my husband Jerry both said, well, we don't want to hear this. And he said, well, I have to tell you. But I was already thinking, I don't want to hear about the worst case scenario, So, but I think that doctor was also pretty surprised with that. We don't want to hear bad, worst case scenario. So,
So how did doctor reacted to it? Did he follow your ask, or did he say, no, but I have to tell it to you anyway?
I have to tell it. He was just a bit surprised, but then he said, well, you have to know what can happen. So, I think that we heard something about the worst case scenario, but I deleted it from my mind, so I don't remember it anymore,
Yes, don't repeat it anyway.
Yeah.
But what I would like to know is, you said that your recovery is going to be different, but was that immediate after you had this prognosis, or did it take a day or a few days for you to process it and then say, hey, but my decision is different. I'm going to have a best possible recovery, full recovery even.
Yeah, well, I have to say that this is like a roller coaster. You are like, at the beginning, when you put your mind to that, it's like, my recovery will be 100%. And then you have bad days. And then you're like, maybe this won't happen. And then you have to, train your mind. And again, okay, no, my recovery will be different. So I think that the whole process, it took me, I don't know, maybe a year, I was going up and down all the time, but yeah, you just have to talk to your mind all the time. No, this is possible, everything is possible. So yeah.
So when you said basically to yourself in this roller coaster, back and forth, that your recovery is different from the recovery of most other people that have similar accidents or similar problems, what was basically what motivated you? What was it inside yourself that came up to the conclusion that no, but I don't accept that prognosis. My one is going to be different. Could you tell us a little bit about it? Did you have similar experience, or did you have, I don't know, do you know people in your family or other people that could also overcome something that seemed to be impossible? How did it happen to you?
Well, actually, no one in my family, no one of my friends, no one, had this kind of thinking. I just really wanted to be like, I didn't want to accept that I will have problems for the rest of my life. I was like, no, this won't happen. I trust myself, I trust my mind, and I also trust my diet. So, you know, these three things, and I said, no, this has to be different. I don't want to have problems for the rest of my life. So I think that it was just that, you know, I want to prove myself that I won't have problems for the rest of my life. It was just that.
When we met in Phoenix, Arizona, already some time ago, you shared with me that there's 3 important components for recovery. Could you explain us a little bit what are these 3 components, and maybe then we can dig into each one of them?
Yeah, well, like I said, you know, the first one is physical work, and this is something that people are really, you know, they know that they have to do their exercises and stretching routines, and they go to the physiotherapist and everything. Yeah. So this is like no-brainer. Then it's diet. A lot of people think that they eat healthy, but that might not be the case. And also, you know, with the diet, doctors usually don't talk about this. So the connection between the diet and the recovery or diseases. So that's the second one. And the third one is mental work. And mental work is probably the trickiest one because you cannot measure it. So, you know, you don't know what... You cannot, well, if you see an orange and you eat it, you know, okay, that was an orange, you know. If you do the exercise, then yeah, I did that exercise. But with the mental work, you really have to work all the time, because what is happening inside, yeah, you cannot measure it until you have the results.